Hello everyone, good evening and welcome to Question Time, a live show where we are, you are asking any question you like regarding anything you really want, but most of the questions about game development and especially Unreal Engine 4. So if this is your first time on the live show, welcome first of all, and secondly, all you have to do is put in a question to the live chat and we'll try and answer as many as we can inside the hour of the show. A couple of announcements coming up about stuff that's coming up. Let's turn this down. That's kind of distracting. So a couple of announcements that are coming up. So this is the last Question Time of 2020. Next Wednesday is going to be our Christmas giveaway spectacular live show. So in the live show, I'll be doing some giveaways live. as we are celebrating the Christmas holidays and the end of the year, as a good a good farewell to the year that sucked really, but yeah. So if you want to be in a chance to win some money, come by on the live stream next week. Okay. After that, it's Christmas, and then the week after that, though, it will be our big fat quiz of the gaming year. So a quiz show all about the end of the year, just to unwind, relax, and have a bit of fun. But this is the last question time, so if you have any questions, make sure you come along and ask them. So I can see a lot of people in chat. Hello, everyone in chat over here. Oh, my stream deck stopped working. Okay, that's fine. We'll just do it manually over here. Okie dokie. So let's jump into the live view and let's start answering some questions. So, Electro Games have a question about UE4 mobile games. Is it possible, and if so, how to make it so the game runs in the background while the app is closed? For example, every 10 minutes the player will gain $10 in-game. Okay, so the way that's achieved is actually kind of a trick. So what you're actually doing is when you close the game, you are saving what time they close the game. And then when they open the game up, you calculate the difference in the time between when they closed it and the time they started it, and then you reward based on that. You're not actually doing anything in the background. You are just checking the sign-off time and the sign-in time and working out a difference. And that's how that's done. Question from Sire. After doing and making your first game in Unreal Engine series, which of video tutorials would you recommend going through next? That's totally up to you, man. So, hopefully you've done the challenges at the end and saw some potentials where you could add stuff to it. But ultimately, after that, it's up to you. If you want to look into more AI stuff, we've got a load of AI videos. If you want to look more into shooter stuff, you've got more stuff about that. So it really is down to whatever you fancy dipping your toes into. I did have planned a second series of that, but time and energy efforts to get that done is non-existent at the moment, so we have to wait that one out. But totally up to you, man. I'm wondering what is the best way to make mixed mode animations match as far as the Z position in Unreal, so when you're playing several in succession, so that the transition looks good. If you're combining mixed mode animations with something else in the Z-axis stuff, more than likely it's going to require you going into like Blender or Maya and editing the animation somewhat. Mixed mode's good, but has some lots of shortcomings. One of such things you've just realised. Yeah. Captain Cheese, how would I make a sword trail effects? So you want an anim trail. You could do it with the Niagara system or with the old-fashioned Cascade particle system. And it's just an animation trail. I don't think this comes with anything in the start content. Let me check. No. So it's an anim trail. It's a type of particle effect. And you attach it to an animation. I don't have time to make the particle effect, unfortunately. But if I can find the animation, I'll try and show you what it goes on here. So once you make the particle effect for anim trail, you can add. Oh, where is it? Was it on here? Get to notifiers. No. Where am I going wrong? But if you look on the documentation, it's called anim trails. If I make a particle system, I'll show you the default Cascade system. To make it anim trail, you right click and it's in here. Type data. And you've got loads of stuff to set up to get it going. But once you've done that, you can attach it to an animation and away it goes. The documentation on it's quite good, so look up the documentation up on Unreal's docs. I'd recommend that. It's somewhere in here. Maybe it's in the montage. I swear I've seen it in here. Might be just a particle effect like thing. I don't know. I have to have a look at it. I've got to remind myself how you do it. But yeah, it's anim trails. Pavel Sonatov over on Facebook is asking, hi Ryan, do you plan to make another Ryan Lady Game Jam in 2021, Q1 or Q2? Yes. I still don't know when, but yes, there will be one in the first half of the year, definitely. Maybe even two. Um. Where we go. So if I do miss your question, by the way, just post it in again. It's literally because I'm trying to keep up with the scroll. What is the best way to create animations for first person, Maya or Blender? Whichever you feel comfortable in. Blender's free, obviously, so that's got a massive positive there. But it's literally whatever you feel most comfortable with. It's the same either way. Israel Ortiz, would you be able to provide a link to TutorialWeb or YouTube to a simple way of enabling the right thumbstick for aiming with a crosshair in a 3D side-scrolling platformer style shooter? Oh, I have no idea where I would even start to find something like that from someone else. But if you just Google what you just asked for, maybe it'll come up. But what you're doing is essentially you are. I don't have a controller on me to test it, so I can't really do it right now. But you're moving a position around on a screen based on the inputs of a thumbstick, and you then take to shoot in that direction of that point. Again, it's not the best example template to start off with. I don't even think I could do it in this one. Not quickly anyway. But you can make it shoot towards wherever the mouse is on the screen, for example. Yeah, I can't really do it in this one because it's a first-person template. I have to make a whole new character. But the thing you're looking for, once you've got the mouse on the screen with the crosshair and you can control it with the thumbstick, once you figure that out, to get the shoot towards that location, you want deproject screen to world. And that takes a screen position, so the coordinates of wherever your crosshair is, and that will output the world position that it's in and the direction that it's going in. So if you look at the point going into the world, that direction is where it's going. And you basically map that to a direction on the player aiming. You said aim to that position and it will shoot towards that position. Again, I don't think I have enough time to make a whole new character right now. But something I could probably do in future. Uga Bayandir. So far I'm butchering your name there. Hi Ryan, I've been watching your lessons for a long time and thank you for my request from you. Can you take lessons on paid purchasing system for mobile? I could do, but I don't know when I'll be able to get around to doing that. I'm not even too sure how I've done it in other engines, but I haven't done it in Unreal before. But usually you go into the project settings and you set it up here somewhere. There's adverts. You should be able to insert somewhere, unless it's a blueprint based thing. It's IAP for in-app purchases. I don't even know if Unreal calls them that, but typically that's what they're called. No, purchase. Oh, there you go. Try get item details. Okay, so this thing, you basically build up when you make purchases, make in-app purchases on the dashboard for like Google Play or iOS Store, whatever it is. They have an item ID. So in here, you'll make an array up of all those strings for those item IDs. And what this does, it tries to get the details from the store, like the price, whether they've been purchased before, things like that. And that returns true or false. And this should get back something. We're back to calling Blueprint VR get item details success. Okay, so get item details. Nope. This calls instigates an item detail query which handles on a separate thread. The result of this asynchronous operation is reported back to the calling blueprint via the get item details or get item did. Oh, event handlers. Okay. So that'll be item details. So you'll get these get item bind event to get item details success. So when you get back those details fine, you can then make a custom event for that, and that should give us the details. So if I get an item out of here, get the first one out, it should break down and tell us all the information we need, like price, the name, and the type of it. The type comes into consumable, or I can't remember what the official term is called. Basically, can you buy it over and over again, or could you just buy it once? I can't remember what they call it. But then you can do that with like the screen and things like that. That's how you get the information from the item details, and then you'd also get the purchase history somehow. That's how you're making it in that purchase. It's quite simple. You make a product request, looking for the identifier, which is the same thing as one of these item IDs, and whether or not it's consumable. That throws up to make the in-app purchase, which then that should be an asynchronous event. What would you do with this? So as I said, I haven't done it in Unreal before, so usually this would be like an asynchronous event, meaning that it sends it to the server and it just waits. It does other stuff, but it waits to hear back from the server, to whether or not it's successful or not. I guess you assign a success. I'm not too sure what that success is. Untick this, look at in-app purchases, and look at what's up here. Version 2, what's that one? Looks the same to me. Read in-app purchase information, restore. So restore is when you, for example, in iOS, you need to have a button that allows them to restore the in-app purchases, and it's good practice to have as well. So if they like uninstall the game or get a new device, they can click on that button and it'll give back all the stuff they bought. Read in-app purchase information. Don't know what that is. I'm sure there's good documentation on it somewhere. Query for own purchases. So actually, we want to know if they've purchased something, like to remove ads or something like that. Oh, there you go. That's it. This is what you want. This is an asynchronous event. So when it has a little clock in the corner, it means it's asynchronous. So basically, this gets called, and when it succeeds, then you do whatever it is, like add gold, add lives, remove ads, whatever it is. That does that. You get receipts and purchase status and things like that. At the end. That's it. Yeah. How are you so cool? I have no idea. I don't think I am, but sure. Thank you. That's from Hamza. Oshri Mac, can you make more decision AI tutorial? So we've got loads more AI stuff coming eventually. Currently working on stealth AI for my patrons. So my patrons have got 5 episodes of that, maybe 6. And that will be handling like stealth guards and patrolling guards and executing guards and all that stuff. Cards communicating via walkie-talkie, things like that. In the new year, you'll be looking out for animal AI. So we're showing how to do animals and how they run around and do stuff. But so yeah, loads more AI stuff coming. Definitely. Jacob Stone, will you return to NavMesh link to tutorials for part 2 to cover jumping up to a NavMesh? I will. I promise I will. I just need to get time to do it. But essentially what you're doing is you get to that point, you tell the AI to run to that point, and when they get to that point, you tell them to do the jump animation and you launch them up in the air and you make them land somewhere. It can look ropey, so you have to limit what you do with it. Ando Raza, I want to make an elf game, and they're very small, 8 centimeters tall. Does that complicate physics simulations? Possibly. Try it. It's hard to know. Possible. It depends on the physics of the physics asset. Because when you make a skeletal mesh, no, where was it? You get something like this. So these bubbles are the hitboxes and physics collisions of the thing. Obviously, if it's really small, they're going to be really small. And you might get some weird issues there. Possibly. I've got to do a whole video on this stuff because I haven't explained this at all. What does a variable private? Do you mean what does a private variable do? A private variable just means that nothing else can read that variable apart from the thing that owns it. It's just a security thing. How to attach one actor to another from point of impact, like an arrow in the knee. So you'll need to attach it to a socket, or you can actually move it to the position of a bone. So when you do hit a character, when you do get an impact hit, you get, let's say for example, you get, let's say you're doing a hit event, okay? You get a hit location, and you can just spawn something to hit at that location, or just hit here. If you split that, you get all the stuff you get from like a trace, essentially, and that includes like the bone that they hit. You can attach it to the bone, the component they hit if you're doing multiple components. There's quite a few ways of doing it. And you can angle the object as well based on the hit. Impact normal. Using that to rotate the arrow so it lands correctly. Next we've got Dr. J. Are you able to explain to an Unreal newcomer what network replication means? Oh boy. Have you not watched my online videos, Dr. J? I've got a few videos explaining it there. Apologies, I've got a cold, so I'm a bit bunged up. Oh, that's warm. Yeah, check out my online videos, Dr. J. I explain it all there. Rather than explain it all again here, you can just watch them and then explain it. Yep. There's quite a few bits to it, so yeah. I missed one earlier from Joe Stallings. Hi Ryan, why isn't UI navigation in Unreal using the gamepad so burdensome? Are there ways that they can make it better out of the box? Unfortunately, that's just the way the beast is, really. You have to remember that computers are stupid. They don't see things like we see things. So when you push right, it doesn't instantly think that the thing to the right should be the thing it goes to. As I say, computers are stupid. So we have to make sure that they are aware of what happens every single time you do a button push. And you also have to worry about layering and depth. So when you hit something, does it hit... so for example, if you put a button within a button, okay, for whatever reason, if you were to push A with the button selected, is it pushing the button inside the button or the big button? You don't know. So this is where it gets confusing, and you have to. That's where you use focusing and button inputs better. This is why a lot of games, I reckon, have switched over to like the mouse control, like Destiny style. A lot of games are starting to do that because it's just easier. You just make everything a button, and when you click on it, it clicks on the button. But yeah, it's just the way computers are. They don't see things like with our eyeballs that we do. Yeah. Ando Raza. if I want to have several characters to choose from, do I need to set a parent and other derived from it? It depends, Ando. So if all your characters are different in their abilities, their functions, then yes. If they are just cosmetic changes, all you have to do is just use one actor and just change the mesh that it uses in this mesh component. And that's it. If it's just cosmetic, do that. If it's more involved in that, then yes, make a parent character class that can be playable, and that'll have the common function on it. And then you make children of that which have their individual abilities on it. So, for example, if I'm making like Overwatch, for example, all the Overwatch characters will derive from one parent class, which is a playable character, which has the functions of movement, jumping, and shooting. And then the children of that, like Tracer or Lucio, whatever, will have their unique changes and additions to it to accomplish whatever task they want to do. Joe, oh yes, I did see you, and I've just answered it. Yes. Excuse me, I'm just gonna go get another bit of water, because I'm really struggling. You can just put questions in. I'll bet back. I'm just 6 just there. Be right back. Oh, that's better. Ugh. Oh dear, it's cold and nice. Okay. Get a gaming job. Hey Ryan, have you made a video where you go into methods of how to use casting? I'm having trouble seeing the logic in how to use them properly, like set up references to objects from other ones. Okay, so casting. I've got a video on it explaining it already, but I'll explain it again here. And what casting is a couple of things, but most importantly, if I do this, get player character, and then cast to, okay, do that. So what casting actually is, it's not as what Wellness is saying is a confirmation. It is, but that's not its main role. That's not what it's really doing. What it's really doing is it's attempting to transform a parent object into one of its children. And it reports back whether it's successful or not. So that confirmation thing comes from whether or not it was successful. So if you have, for example, here we have get player character, okay? And if I hover over return value, the tooltip here says that it's a character object reference. However, these variables here belong only to the first person character. So I can't access these variables on this because this is just a reference to just generic characters, not this stuff. So this, though, this first person character is a child of character. So what I'm doing, oh, sorry, really bunged up. I'm going to take the return value, put it into a cast, and what it does, it says it attempts to transform it into one of its children, which is a first person character. If it is successful in doing that, it cracks on down this road. If it isn't successful, it fails and goes down here. And that's where that confirmation happens. The as first person character pin as the end result. So it's successfully transformed it into its child, and away it goes. So you can only cast to a child of that object, which is useful because the object that you put in here could be anything that is like an existing function which gives you something. So if you're using like UI based stuff, you can get widget, for example. But this return, because this function is designed to return a widget, it doesn't know which widget to look at. You can get the widget and then you cast this to the widget that you're looking for exactly, and it'll try and transform it into that. Now, because it is transforming it into a child, it is relatively expensive. So you don't want to do a cast on like a tick. You want to do it somewhere else, and so on and so forth. Now, a good practice is once you have got the cast, so let's say, for example, this was on a custom event, like begin play or something. That would go into there. So imagine this is begin play, goes onto there. I would then store this as a reference by promoting that to a variable. And what that means is that I've now stored in memory where that thing is stored in memory. So I've now got that reference, that link connected and stored, so I don't have to cast to it anymore. That exists. I know where it is in the world. Because it's an object reference, not a class reference, I can do that. And then you can use it however you want. So you can drag it out, choose get, set, so forth. Does it help answering your question? You're always having difficulties in knowing what to put in object in the cast node. Again, it is, if you're using it as a confirmation thing, you're probably doing it wrong. You should only really be using cast if you want to transform something into a child. And if you're doing that, then you should already have the object that you want to transform in. It's a bad way to go if you do the cast first. So like, I want to check if this thing is an enemy or a projectile. So cast to projectile. If you do it this way round, then it becomes a lot more tricky because you don't know how to get to this point. Yeah. If you're doing it that way round, you're doing it wrong. Make sure it's a tool that you're doing when you're plugging something out into it. So like this, for example, will fail because it's not a child of first-person character. So avoid putting the cast in first, get the object first, and you see like, hang on, this isn't what I want. I want the child version of it. Then you cast to it there. As to how to get the object that you want, that entirely depends on what you're trying to do. If you're doing a collision event, then you've got the collision data on the hit, for example. So other here's an actor object reference. You want to know exactly what type it is and get all that information from it. You can do that by casting. If you're doing something that you spawned in earlier, so when you spawn, you got the spawner here, and you spawn AI from class, you get this value here, promote that to a variable, and then you can later on use that to cast to, or I don't know, whatever you want. It depends, mate. It depends on how you're doing it. But if you've done the cast first, then you've done it wrong. James, how performance cost is casting? It is expensive relatively. So it doesn't matter if you do like only like a dozen times. It doesn't matter at all. But if you're doing on a tick where it's doing it 60 times a second, that's wasteful and just going to be not optimized. So try to do it in like a one-use case, like a begin play, for example, and it will get the reference and store it for later use. Okay, next. Sorry, just reading through. Okay, so could you talk about material physics, please? I can do. So let's make material physics. Go to materials. Oh no, physics is on it. Physics, material physics. And we'll choose the basic class. Test physics material. And we'll open it up. And in here you set up some details of what you want to do, blah 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 blah. And then you'd go into, no, that's fine. So you set up the details of your physics material, like here. And so let's make it so it is extra bouncy. So restitution we'll put down, I can't remember if it's a high or low number. Put it as a low number for now. No, it'll be higher number. I think restitution's bouncy. So put it at 1. And let's say you click on the floor here. And if you go down, you have an option for physics material override. And you can drag that into it. And away it goes. So now, wrong way. There is lower number. Yep. No, why are you not working? Oh wait, because my character is not physics based. Hang on. Can't remember which way it goes. No bounce to 0, 1, yeah. So we want 1. I was right first time. It should bounce. Oh, there you go. It works for physics-based objects, so that was extra bouncy, you see? Boink, boink, boink. If I increase that above 1... Oh, I can't. Damn. But if you want, you can probably get around that somehow. But mess about with that. But you can also apply this to actual materials. So, for example, on this cube, if I go onto the cube material here and apply the material there, now that'll have the properties of the physics material. So now those all bouncy off each other, and the floor's bouncy, and off they go. Just bounce, bounce, bounce. I could turn the friction down. So now they all just slip and slide. And bounce around. Yeah. It just adds physics properties to whatever you've attached it to. And you can also get this the physics material from traces, sorry. So unhit. So if I do like a line trace, one of the out hit options is the physics material, and you can do stuff based on that. So for example, one good use of it is if you want to do like bullet penetration, you want to work out if a bullet can go through it, you can do that like that. Or if you want to change the material of the particles that are coming out of it, so if you shoot wood, it will split it in wood chunks, concrete, dust, all that stuff. So you can use it to handle that sort of thing there. Yeah, that's about it really. There's not too much really to it. I say this is a default one that comes with it as a type physics material. But you can also make, I think you can make your own one. I'll double check that. Oh, no, you have to choose an existing property. That's fine, but you can customize this stuff here. Change how dense it is. Yeah. That's it really. Gabrielis, I'm struggling with ownership. Who should own widgets? Imagine an NPC with mesh, sound, animation, etc. On interaction, a window should pop up. Where does this window live? You should, if the player is viewing a widget, all the widgets should exist on the player's stuff. So the controller, for example, is a good place to put it. If it's in the world, then attach it to whatever it's attached to in the world. Following a tutorial window is in player's HUD. How can I see how easy HUD can become cumbersome to maintain with all different windows? I'd rather inject from NPC to player. Is this reasonable? Yeah, you can totally do that. So you can set up a widget that the NPC has, but then when you create the widget, you rather than add it to a viewport, you can add it to the HUD of the player character. Add it to the child of the canvas panel, and it will add it to it. But you can totally do that. Joe Stallings, Ryan, if you are building a game that's generating a lot of data, for instance, a sports simulation where players accumulate statistics over time, what approach would you use to store that data? Into a data structure for starters. And that's kind of it, really. If you're storing loads of that data, then you can store maps and arrays of that data. Yeah, that is what it is, really. Little data like numbers and things like that are cheap. They don't take up any space really at all. How to move two actors along a spline. Yeah, it's the same as any other spline tutorial that I've done. You just add two actors on it. Ando Raza, how would you go about making a score screen in a level? So you make a widget, and in that widget you'll have a way to get all like an array, and the array will be stored on typically the game mode. On the game mode, you'll store the scores and leaderboards and things like that, or whatever has happened there. And when the game ends, the game mode will then spawn the window, the screen with the score tallied up onto it. You just pass the variables over to the widget when you create it. When you do a widget, so imagine it's my score screen. In my graph here, I make the variables for the score, for example, but I make it editable and exposed on spawn. So then when I create the widget in some code, so I have to create widget. I choose that one. I now got the option to insert score. So you put in all the things you want here, and you pass it from the game mode over to your widget. Or you can pass through the game mode reference itself if you want. Hi, Sibby. Oh God. Okay. Native Black, do you have a tutorial on blend trees? In what context do you mean? Do you mean animation blending? Let me know. Zimmy Jim. I don't know how to ask my question. It's about replicating multiplayer characters that are possessing actors on the map. My player one works, but the other actors aren't replicating. I did manage to get my meshes replicated today. Congrats. So replicating multiplayer characters that are possessing actors on the map. So I'm confused. So do you have like a character inside the game that's controlling another character? If that's the case, then that is faked. So it looks like the character controlling another character, but what you're actually doing is you're just changing possession of the player controller over to the thing that you're controlling. As long as you tell the thing that you're controlling is replicated, it should replicate. Like characters by default replicate their movement without having to do anything. Hey Ryan, have you ever played the Divinity Original Sin games? Any thoughts on how they create its combat? Been pondering on it for a while. Asking out of interest. I haven't played it, so I can't really comment. I could look it up. But let me have a look at what it looks like. So let's have a look. Wait for the adverts. So just looking at the action bar, it looks like my action bar ability system. Yeah, it just looks the same as my ability system. James, have you looked at my thing for now? My ability one. Native black animation blending, like holding a gun, not holding a gun. Holding a gun, not holding a gun. If you're not holding a gun, you would don't know. I don't know what you. I don't fully understand the question. Sorry. Because a gun animation of a gun holding, like switching from holding a gun to not holding a gun, is just a montage down, and then you change the mesh, or the gun's a separate actor from the hands, and you just tell it to go away. I'm not entirely sure what you mean. I think you're confused what you're doing with animation blending. Typically, if your gun is usually like a separate thing that you can turn off and on, and then you change the hands to be animated something different if they're not holding a gun. It's not really a blend tree, so to speak. But if you are going to blend something like that, for example, in your animation graph, you can do all types of blends in here. So, for example, blend by ball is quite a common one. So you have two poses. So this one will be like with a gun. Then you do another one without a gun, and you have Boolean that says has gun, and that goes off into that. Oh, right, James. Okay, so it's point based and turn based. So I will be doing a turn based system next year. So that'll be coming. It won't be like that, but in the what you mean by combining abilities, that would be interesting one to try and solve. But theoretically simple enough. There's just a lot to think about in that one. I'll have to think about that one. Cookie Games. What must I change in your inventory system when I want to open inventory on multiplayer? So, depends on what you're trying to do. So, in multiplayer games, tell me how many multiplayer games you can view the other player's inventory. I bet you can't get in more than 5. So, in most games, in multiplayer, the inventory is stored on client side. Like they don't see it on the server side, so you don't have to replicate it. Just because you're in multiplayer doesn't mean you have to replicate everything. You only have to replicate something if other players or the server needs to know what's happened. So inventory, for example, you don't need it. Not everyone needs to know what hell you got. So unless you're doing extreme like security busting things, but it's not worth it. So and the only reason you would need to, other reason you would have to replicate it is if you're allowed to look at the other player's inventory. And in that case, all you're doing is you're replicating the variables of that component. So you find when you add the inventory component, like in here, you'll be able to right click on it, and you can not right click on it. You can go in here and you can change the replication settings and so forth. But by and large, you wouldn't replicate it. I see a lot of people asking about that as well for like skill system. How do you replicate skill system? You don't. You keep it all client side. You don't need to do anything like that. Zoom Gym, Xbox or PlayStation? I'm an Xbox person. The only reason I like all games and all consoles, but I'm more Xbox. The only reason is that's the ecosystem I'm in. So I'm in it, and I love Game Pass. It's awesome, especially the cloud stuff on my phone. Because when you have kids and you're up in their room all night, like because I won't sleep, plugging in my Razer Kishi into my phone is super fun because I can just sit there playing Destiny 2 on my phone, which is really cool. What was I playing the other day on it? I was playing trying to play Doom on it. That was difficult, but because the controller's not great for that. Bit of water. Tyler Young, do you make your own textures? If so, what software do you use? A mixture, really. Depends on what I'm trying to make. So Photoshop is most basic one, but 3D Coat is good, and I've got also Substance Painter and Designer. James Justin, how does a phone have the power to render a AAA game? It doesn't. It renders a video. That's how they do it. It sends a video. Get a Gaming Job, does Unreal support have exported project to be played in web browser? It used to, but not anymore. They took it out. It went out in version 2.2 or 2.1, something like that. I think you can still do it, but you have to go into the C++ and edit stuff in it to allow it. How would you deactivate collision between player and his weapon? So, there's a weapon separate from the player. Click on it in here. Go to the collision settings down here. And set it to have no collision. And it's as simple as that. What's the best way to replicate an aim offset? You replicate the numbers. That's it. You're replicating... Wait, the aim offset, you're not replicating the animation. You replicate the data. Always remember that when it comes to replication. You never replicate anything else apart from data. So if you're doing aim offset, you're replicating the control rotation, which it should be doing already anyway, because controllers are replicated. So it should do that by default. When that data gets to the client side then translates that data into animation data. Gabriel, I installed WoW Shadowlands today. I'm enjoying mine very much so, by the way. Game started off the 3 gigabytes, got downloaded. Game is 8 gigabytes. How do you think they achieved this? So what it's downloading to you is based on, like, because it's a linear expansion, they know what world you're going to first. It downloads the textures for that world, and their textures are quite small. They're like 256 by 256. They're quite small. So download the textures they need and the basic audio they need. But they don't need all the audio, they don't need all the objects, they don't need all the meshes, they just need the basic stuff at the start. And that's it. So it does that, and whilst you're playing, it downloads the rest of it. Yeah, that's it really. What's the best way to communicate between actors? Is it best to use event dispatchers or, again, it all depends. Event dispatchers work quite nicely, but it all depends. It's all reference based. So if you want things to communicate, they have to be linked already. So one spawned the other thing, or one has been told to follow the other thing by the designer. It's a difficult question to answer because it depends entirely on what you're trying to achieve. How to make a waterfall in 426? I don't know yet. I haven't tried 426 yet. I haven't had no time. Joe Stallings, Ryan, did you ever try Unity? I have, yes. Made stuff in Unity quite a while ago. I haven't you touched it for many years. But yeah. the weapon should collide with everything but the owner. No. So what do you mean? The weapon should collide with. So you want like the gun to poke into walls and things like that. So that you wouldn't do that. You can't turn off collision of the capsule, otherwise the player will fall through the floor. So you can't do that. So what you do is you turn off the collision of the gun, and then if you want it to like bend the arm when it goes near a wall, you're doing a line trace out of the gun, and if it hits a wall, you're using IK to position it. There is actually no collision on it. Luco, hey Ryan, what do you suggest? Any other solution to save level states if you have a lot of levels? Nope. It's just a lot of work. You just you do different saves for all the different levels, and that's sadly the way it goes. That's why games take years to make. Good night, Native Black. Have a good one, or good morning, wherever you are. James, do you prefer C++ or C#? Have you experienced any difference in processing speed between the two? Technically, C++ is faster. I prefer C# because it's quicker for me to use, not quicker for it to run. Have I noticed any speed between the two? No. I'm not doing anything extravagantly crazy enough to notice any difference. And that's the thing you got to also remember. People always go like, but C++ is so much faster than Blueprint or C# or Java, whatever. And then they make something that's a really simple game. You're like, well, you're not going to notice any damn difference. Ultimately, it matters, like, can you make the game? And does it run well? If it runs well, great. It doesn't really matter. You get a lot of people who, like, blow their trumpets and get all uppity about it. Like, oh, no, C++ must be the best one out there. Like, you must use C++. But they get all these like people that champion it like that. And then they do that and they make something like super simple, which doesn't really push it hard enough. So you wouldn't like why are you having this argument? So I wouldn't get hung up on it too much because chances are you're not making a game that's going to be pushing the boundaries of it massively. If you are, all the luck to you. But yeah. Have I ever used Unreal CLR? No, I haven't. I haven't used it, no. That's the plugin, isn't it? No, I haven't used it. Next question. Sean Becker, I am making a cube move forward and back. I was wondering, is there a way to give it inertia that doesn't stop so abruptly? Well, how are you moving it forward and back? Let us know how you're moving it forward and back, and I can help you out. Blueprints are missing support for int64. What are you using int64 for? How big are your numbers? Yeah, so if people don't know, when you make a variable, yeah, oh no, it has int64. Yeah, there you go. There you go, int64. Done. I've never had to use it because it's such a large number. I've never had to get a number that large before. Ando Raza, how to switch from character camera to a child actor's camera? So you deactivate the camera that you're on, and then you choose set view target with blend with the actor that you got there. So if I put let's make child camera, and let's put a camera on here. There we go. pile, and make this have a really short field of view, so it makes it obvious that's what it is. Got another character here, and we'll attach a child actor to this. And the child actor is going to be our camera. Child camera. There you go. And when I push the F key, we will then take the child actor out here. Get child actor. And then you can set view target. No, hang on. Set view target. Oh no, wait, I have to get the player controller first. Get player controller. Then set view target with blend. And the new view target is this child actor here. And you put in a blend time of how long? 0, instant cut. Anything higher is a blender cut. So let's put like 2, no, let's do 1. And that child actor is there. Okay. So let's just push that back a bit. Push play. F. And there it goes. Yeah. And that's kind of it. So it's just set view target with blend. KM, hey Ryan, what are you working on right now? Funny you should ask. This Saturday, I will start live streaming me making my own game. I've started work on it. I've designed it. It's just a matter of making a prototype for it. So join me on Saturday's live stream where I'll be making stuff for it and revealing what I'll be doing. It's not nowhere near ready to be shown, but I thought I might as well showcase me making it. World's population is 7 billion. Oh. You can't divide or multiply by other data types. That's I don't think you could normally. Could you not just use fractional and then multiply it? Like when you're really using large numbers like that, how often do you really need a number like that big? As a workaround, you can, but you have to go into the source code and change its functionality. But you could just use like a float. Oh, hang on. So let's say like population. Okay, and population is a float, and this is a fraction of a billion. So if I set the default value of this to 7.5004 like that. Maybe a bit more numbers, hang on. 500. Let's do 1, 2, 3. There you go. So that's 7.5 billion, just in fractional form. You could do stuff like that to work around if you want. And if you want to, obviously, you want to get that out like as a natural number, drag that out, and you print string that plus multiplied by 10 to the power. Thanks, Joe. Have a good evening. Right, we're going to wrap things up in a second. It's getting late and I've got work in the morning. So, Taylor Young, is there any type of 3D game that a beginner could realistically create solo? Yeah, of course there are. Obviously, you have to keep your expectations lower. But, yeah, you can do whatever. Just remember to keep the scope down. You can do any game you want, but make sure you keep the scope down. Then world's your oyster. Hey Ryan, what would be your solution in a multiplayer game when client and server have different times to start, day and night, without unbalancing the characters? Why would you want them to start different times of day? That would seem a bad idea. Oh, I better shift this cold soon. I'll take more tablets in a second. Cheers, James. Have a good one. Get a gaming job. Ryan, if you have time to answer, how do you handle your game design? Do you use software to structure it up and such? I use Word. That is it. Word and a sketchbook. And then we'll do like flowcharts in it and things like that. Communication between blueprints can be challenging. What's your favorite way to do it? Should I use level blueprint more often? No. Level blueprint should only be used for things that are related to the flow and structure of the level. It shouldn't be like this way to try and communicate. It's a bad way of doing it. Blueprints should, or actors should communicate with each other through references, and it should be relative references. If there shouldn't be any kind of case where what you're trying to like I struggle to come up with an example of when two actors would communicate that don't interact with each other. Usually they're interacting with each other somehow. Like one shoots the other one walks near the other one touches the other one, whatever. They always will interact with something and then go off. It's like me trying to communicate with someone across the world I've never met or spoken to before. How would I go about doing it? I wouldn't realistically. I would have some interaction with them before that. Like you guys, I wouldn't know how to communicate with you unless I have interaction with you. And this is one way of interaction with me. What we're doing right now. Hotfix, because the server is running a daytime cycle, and then the client joins and has the same time like the server. What? So the problem is nothing to do with the multiplayer stuff then. Your problem is with the how to do lighting for nighttime. Is that correct? Is it just nighttime lighting that you're struggling with? Right, okay. Could be numerous things really. Make sure you've got your skylight plugged in there. And the skylight would be bouncing around any colours in the environment, in distance. You need some light source in there, otherwise you won't be able to see anything at all. Make sure you've got the what's it called? The exposure. Make sure you got auto exposure turned on, so that will fix a lot of it as well. And that's kind of it really. There's not much to it than that. You have to just. You can also use post processing to do it as well. So you can put in a post process volume, and if I make that unbound, tick that, so it affects the whole level. And then in here you have min and max brightness. So if you do minimum brightness, so it's like, I don't know, 8, maybe a bit higher. Do max brightness as well. So minimum brightness, there you go. I can control it like that. And you can put in whatever value you want, really. So if it's looking too dark, you can use this to sort of customize how dark it can actually ever get. One way of doing it. Oh, are they? Cool, I didn't see that. I missed that one. I'm not entirely sure. Ah, man. I'll be boasted about that. How to adjust brightness with BP widgets? Exposure doesn't seem to be real brightness. I mean, that's what you're affecting. It's the exposure of the world. That's all you really can do. You just affect these. Like, you can do this stuff here. That's the closest you can get with it. I don't know what other way you would do it. There's hardware brightness, which you can't affect in game. The only thing you can really affect is the brightness of the exposure, and that is it. And like gamma. I don't know if that's in here. Yeah, you can set gamma. Turn that up. So put that 2, for example. Make it really bright. For example. So you can do that if you want. Okay. Last question. Because time is up. Silent Gamer, we'll do your question. When I add the charge bar to my HUD, the ammo counter stopped working. How do I fix this? Man, I can't answer that one because I don't. I have to actually see what you've done. It could be all sorts of things. I can't answer it straight away. So I'll answer if you're happy to. If you join my Discord and just posting my bug fixing thing there, you can get help there as well. Yeah. So Tyler Young, this is the first question time I've been to join. Is this a weekly thing? I would like to come in more prepared next time with better questions. It is a weekly thing. However, this is the last one of this year. Next Wednesday is a Christmas giveaway. So if you want a chance to win money, come by and join us next week's live stream where we'll be giving away money. We're playing around with Unreal, making some stuff, having a hangout, having a bit of fun. And that's next Wednesday. The Wednesday after that will be our big fat quiz of the year, where we'll have a bit of fun, and we'll do a quiz game show like I did during the lockdown. This Saturday, you can join me live as I start showcasing me making my own game live to everyone, so you can join in and watch that. And other than that, expect videos still come out over the Christmas holiday. You will see videos still coming out, so don't worry about that. They're queued up, they're ready to come out. That's fine. If you're interested in pre-booking and pre-ordering private one-to-one sessions with myself, we are fully booked for rest of December. We're fully booked for January. But if you want to book in for any time, whenever you want, there's a deal on at the moment for the bundle of 4 sessions. So if you want to make some savings, the bundle of 4 sessions is on special offer until January 1st. At January 1st, the price will rise back up. So if you want to head over to my website, ryanadey.com, you can find out more information about the pricing, how to pay, how to contact me, what you get, and so forth and so forth. But as I said, we're fully booked all the way up into February so far. Very, very, very busy. I'm literally doing a one-to-one session pretty much almost every night. So, if you want to get in soon. If you want to book that in as soon as possible. So, massive thank you so much for everyone who's joined me tonight. And thank you to everyone who's subscribed and who's supported me over on Patreon. None of this would be possible without you guys. We'll be able to afford it. But thank you so, so much. And that'll do it for me. Next time I'll see you guys will be this Saturday. So make sure you tune in this Saturday. And then next Wednesday is our Christmas show giveaway prize extravaganza. Don't know what I'm gonna call it yet. But join us live. It'll be question and answers, and you get some money prizes. So join us for that game show next week. Thank you, everyone, and have a great evening. Bye bye, everyone.